All right, welcome into How Bout Wow. Who are these Cowboys? Caleb Williams just looked like an all-pro in lighting the Cowboys up. No sacks, no turnovers. We have all the topics and reactions to Cowboys-Bears Week 3. Take it away, Jimmy.
The only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Sir, welcome into the show. How Bout Wow is brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. Up to $250 in free bets. Cowboys are a 6-point home dog, getting ready to host Micah Parsons and the Packers. And why not, New Bear, after that dumpster fire of a performance? What's your instant reaction to the Cowboys getting blown out up there in the Windy City?
Well, when your team makes you drink recovery smoothie. So after that, and the liver starts turning back around, you wonder what it's going to take to get this thing headed in the right direction on the back end of this defense, right? I mean, the most troubling thing is walking away from not just this game, but the season to date is, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Cowboys can run the ball. We agree?
They can run it.
And Cowboys can stop the run.
They can stop the run.
And they suck.
I've been screaming from the mountaintops for 4 years, run the ball, stop the run. And they finally get it right, and suddenly they can't stop the pass at all. And that's a good reminder that chunk plays are daddy in the NFL. If you can't stop the chunk plays, you got no problem. It's really stop the run after you've made sure they can't light you up like Russell Wilson and Caleb Williams have in back-to-back weeks.
Ben Johnson is about to become either, like, if you're a Chicago Bears fan, like my whole family and growing up there, and it's just been so hard. Like, they had less of a post whoever, Jay Cutler plan than the Steelers did with Big Ben. And it's been so hard for my whole life because they just gut punch you after gut punch you after gut. And then this thing happens, and it's been so ugly with Caleb Williams. And they made him look like Patrick Mahomes. And I got killed in the comments where I said he's Mahomes cosplay on Sunday. That didn't hold up well for you. No, it doesn't. When you go 4 for 4 for 1,000,000 yards and 4 touchdowns on man-to-man, or when Ben Johnson is literally about to become either the villain or the number one guy that everyone roots for because he's up, he's winning, he's beating the brakes off you, and he's still running trick plays.
Man, I love that you mentioned those two things right there. The 4 for 4 for 86 yards on man is such a crucial part of this. I mean, Caleb Williams' first game without being sacked is massive there from Courtney Cronin. She pointed that out. It's going viral on Twitter. And then the Bobby Belt special, Caleb Williams 4 for 4 for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns against man coverage today. That's so interesting because there was such a demand to get out of zone, and Matt Eberflus was failing trying to put all of these inexperienced players together in a complicated system. And maybe as the week goes on and the film study happens and we get a chance to hear from Jerry and Steven and the coaches a couple of times throughout the week, that's going to be a part of the narrative. But I think the game against Chicago was really about establishing the fact that in their defensive backfield right now, they are devoid of starting level NFL talent at your corners. Say what you want about Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson. They are not good enough to make up for the fact that Trevon Diggs is either hurt or just still recovering from injury and is a shadow of what he used to be. And then you go to the Triquez Bridges and the Reddy Stewarts and the Kyer Elams, and they can't be counted on to do anything right in pass defense. And that's what was exposed. So if you do harbor any feelings of we're still a playoff team, as Jerry Jones said last night, this has to be fixed from a front office personnel perspective, because whether it's Matt Eberflus not coaching well enough or not, the players aren't close to good enough.
Yeah, that's the best tweet of the weekend. The best thing going around right now is that Eberflus is finally developing Caleb Williams. It's so bad, man. And you come out and you make him look, you allow him to do things different. When you have somebody who's been pressured into making mistakes, so much so that there's a little bit of seeing ghosts, like the Sam Darnold element to it, where he's rushing, he's off target when he doesn't even have pressure, and he's missing wide open throws. I mean, at one point yesterday, I think Caleb Williams was 10 for 18. He had 8 incompletions, and they're talking about it on the broadcast about how 5 of them were overthrows, even within a game where he might be NFC Offensive Player of the Week. There was a lot of bad film because he's just not there yet. And you go through and you give dudes the opportunity to just throw seeds, throw dots, throw dimes, and when you're throwing the ball over people's heads, to your point about Diggs, Diggs absolutely does not look right, does not look healthy, does not look like he trusts his body. He did slip on that, right? That stuff happens, right? But then the flea flicker literally looked like a mistake, like a glitch in the game when the Xbox freezes, and it still worked. Right? Swift looked like he punted that ball, and it still worked, right? And
embarrassment.
The DJ Moore one to me though was even worse because Diggs slipped, flea flicker stuff happens, guys get behind, safeties get caught with their feet in the quicksand, they get stuck, the DJ Moore one was the worst one, the most fascinating one, because he's just standing there and there's no one around. There's nobody even close. And when you go back and you look through particularly red zone coverage, what do they always talk about? How it's so hard when you get down on the goal line to throw because everything gets compressed, right? And the sideline becomes the 13th defender like it is the whole way, or the 12th defender like it is the whole way down the field. And then the end line becomes the 13th defender. And it's so hard to play offense in the red zone. They literally looked like they were out there playing flag football. And they looked like they were out there playing flag football with a bunch of dudes who went to happy hour before the game started.
Yeah, just no awareness. Yeah, the guy behind you is wide open, and we're in the red zone, and even Caleb Williams can tell 5 seconds after he hiked it where the ball has to go. And I really think they're up against it going into this Green Bay game, although they lost Tucker Kraft and Reed with injuries, and they only scored 10 against Cleveland. The Browns have one of the best defenses in the NFL, and a weaponless Jordan Love, I guess Matthew Golden, Christian Watson's hurt. But a weaponless Jordan Love is probably going to have his best game of the season coming up Sunday afternoon at AT&T.
That's the thing. Look at what Russ did the week before and the week after he came to you. Look at what Caleb Williams has done his whole career, and then you get him and turn him into
best game of the season, whoever they're playing.
It's a really troubling thing because if you stayed up and watched the Sunday night game, or if you just go through the machinations of how this team is just turning dudes loose. Until Revel and Bland are out there, nothing is going to change. And
you have to hope that Deron Bland comes back this week and he's close to 100%, and that Revel can be an impact rookie, even though he's coming off an ACL himself. That is a long shot. I do think Bland will help a little bit because he'll at least give you a credible player on the other team's best weapon.
Well, the Gilly Lock questions, the Stephon Gilmore questions are not going to stop because he may have lost a step. He may want too much money, but at least he's going to be where you ask him to go.
He'd be a lot better right now. Yeah.
And then the Asante Samuel Jr. stuff gets fascinating because of the neck issue, which almost ended his career and has given, teams so much pause as he's coming back from it. Justin Simmons, right, at the safety level, or Jerry's out there waving those first round picks around, talking like he's going to go get a Patrick Surtain or something.
Let's see it, man. You have $42 million. You let Micah Parsons go. Are you just going to use that money to sign your own guys and then draft a couple of dudes in the late 20s or early 30s from Green Bay? That would be punting on trying to win the trade. Let's see it right now. They have the resources to get better if they really want to try to win. I believe the offense can be good.
One of the other things that really stuck out from the Sunday night game, watching the Chiefs play, is how week to week, game to game, they do what they do, but Spags is going to have all kinds of really fun stuff, but they're also willing to be stubborn and make you beat them death by 1,000 paper cuts. Last night, they doubled Malik Neighbors and made his life, he was about to crash out like George Pickens. And what you saw was Cam Scattaboo win fantasy leagues because Russ finally stopped throwing the ball into double coverage and checked it down to the running back. But he threw those 2 picks because that's what greedy-ass QBs want to do. That's what Caleb Williams normally does, right? Now, granted, Caleb Williams actually takes pretty good care of the ball. He just misses throws. He doesn't necessarily throw a bunch of picks, but he just misses dudes who are open, and he misses open windows. And what happened with Russ last night, what happened with the Chiefs, the reason I'm still talking about it is go back through the Bill Belichick stuff where you talk about the 20 to 20 doesn't matter. What matters is the red zone. Yards don't matter. points are the only thing that matters. And if you know that you're a team offensively that can go off consistently 28, 30, 35, and you're going to get into these games where you're going to give up those points and then you're going to get behind it. Because I was texting you even at 2014 when they got greedy and took the sack on 2nd and 5 after a 5-yard run on first down. If they just hammer that ball in there, they're already in Aubrey's field goal range. You get it to 24-17, 24-21 if you pay that drive off. And now, you're still forcing the Bears to have to play against themselves, against the totality of the game, as opposed to just being able to call trick plays and do whatever the hell they want. And I think that's what's going to be really interesting about this is does Schottenheimer take a step back and say, even if CeeDee is good, even with CeeDee and Pickens and Fergie and all these weapons, we get into a game like that, I got to give the ball to Javonte 25 times. I got to slow this game down, shrink it.
Yeah. Let's up next here on How About Wow. Let's look at, things they did do well. 121 yards on 20 carries. I think Javonte by himself was over 7. Was it 10 carries for 76 yards?
7.6.
If you have CeeDee Lamb healthy and a more of an optimized game plan that's not trying to pass it all the time, then I think, and Jake Ferguson with 13 catches, there is a lot to like offensively if they could get the defense fixed, and you even stop their run for the most part. And I know there was the one drive in the fourth quarter or maybe third quarter where it's like you could not get them off the field with so many damn plays, 19 plays, I think, in 9 minutes. For the rest of the game. And it's not like they were gouging you for 8 to 12 yards an attempt. It just set up well for them to keep moving the chain. So there is some stuff to like in here, and there's some stuff to be optimistic with the offense, and even the defense, I guess, when you look at stopping the run. Was it a mistake not to play Jadeveon Clowney? If you're not going to be able to get any pressure, what could the guy, I guess you want a dude that is conditioned and knows everything in case you have injuries and he's got to play 60 snaps. But, you said he was in great shape when he arrived. How bad a shape could he be in? And, how could you not see that nobody else on your team is getting home? You got to see what Clowney can do.
But I think the bigger the guy, the more time you got to take from the outset when they haven't played yet. You look at a guy like Cam Hayward who held in Pittsburgh and how slow and ugly the first couple weeks of tape were versus how dominant he was in week 3. 2 or 3 weeks from now is when we get the true answer on Clowney. If he comes in like gangbusters this week against Green Bay, that's why he's first round pick. That's why he's still playing even after all the injuries and all the wear and tear. But typically when you talk about, I think people underestimate how big that dude is. He's almost big enough. If you put him in the protein shake line, you could eat him into a defensive tackle pretty easily. He's a specimen. He's a special dude. And you want to take every precaution that you can, knowing that, when he does get out there, you're assuming he's going to make some plays and it's going to be hard to take him off the field, right? This is a guy that you don't want to have out there on every third and long, 15, like basically how they've used Houston so far, where you go, man, that dude only played 8 snaps. Like this is the guy that you want to be out there playing at least 50+%, right? And wrecking things, not just in passing situations. He's actually got all the chase down stuff, all the awareness stuff, all the good tape that you thought he was the Eric Dickerson of defensive ends in Carolina. That you put on some of the early season stuff where he's chasing and being that wily vet and really impacting the game at every level.
Yeah, I don't know how low he can get anymore, but it just doesn't matter because he's so strong and sound with his hands. And again, it's stunning how bad these Cowboys pass rushers are. I knew that it would hurt to lose Micah Parsons. I didn't know that they would become maybe the worst pass rush in the entire NFL. Other things to look at here on How About Wow. How about some social media reaction here from Nick Harris from the locker room? Pickens declined to comment after the loss to the Bears.
Well, he said everything he wanted to say on his Instagram, right? And that was
what's that?
He said some stuff without speaking at all through his Instagram, right? Didn't he put out the I don't care like song lyrics with literally is what the post said? He
clearly cared a lot.
Yeah, I think he almost cared too much, squeezing that.
It's just a red flag when somebody cares like that and then says, I don't care, I guess it's just a reminder that while George Pickens is going through life on an adventure, it's not the smoothest ride at all times. But yeah, he cared a lot and he put his head under a towel. I have no problem with that. If you make a play that bad, if you're despondent and don't want to talk, I totally get it. I just, I wonder about the consistency of his performances, because I think in 2 out of the 3 games, he's done something that's made it harder to win. And you can't have a lot of that. The one-handed catch is spectacular. It'll make an appearance here in the wow factor here as we upload some shorts, and every week we look at the top plays, the most exciting plays, and talk about how much of a wow factor they are. That's outstanding. But if consistently you're getting in fights and causing a penalty or having a drop, we need this thing to have a trend reversal and then sustain that for 6 to 8 weeks with George Pickens before we have another one of these games where you're talking about him actively doing something to make it harder to win. Trevon Diggs says the issues in the secondary were not communication today. They were execution. CeeDee thinks he can play next week. And Jerry Jones said similar things. Kenny Clark got rolled up on, said he's fine, and he even returned to the game. Tyler Smith is focused on the details of practice and plans on taking a step forward as a leader this week to the younger guys. The problem with offense is their tackle play is not good enough in pass protection. And I think it's got to be one of many spots that you start looking at the springtime and the draft coming up with the Cowboys. Like, if it's a top 10 pick, this is a hell of an opportunity to potentially replace Micah Parsons, Trevon Diggs, Terrence Steele, I think would be first up at right tackle. And, maybe looking forward, I need to see some signs from Guyton to make me believe he should be a long-term offensive lineman. You might need a wide receiver too. Like, this would be a really good time to have a top 10 pick. And after week 1, I thought this team could win 10 or 11 games. After week 2, maybe I brought it down to 9 or 10 just because of how much their secondary was exposed. Now I think it's somewhere between 6 and 8 wins, I think, is the fair range for what these Cowboys are going to put up. They have a very difficult schedule, New Bear. It could easily be on the low end of that.
Think about how much of a week-to-week league this is, right? Just last week, not just you, many people were talking about how head and shoulders above the entire league, Green Bay Packers. Then they go into Cleveland and lay an egg. And Micah Parsons is trending because he looks like he's about to kill people on the field because he's getting held and twisted. And
I mean, they got pretty unlucky to lose that game. They had Cleveland at like 3 points in the fourth quarter. It's not like Cleveland moved the ball against them. They had a special teams play late. I think it was a blocked field goal that set up their own field goal
yesterday. Yeah. My goodness.
Yeah, so it was an unfortunate win. I think the concern for Green Bay is how good are they at their skill position spots. Like, they could struggle to score points against a good defense, but against the Cowboys, they'll probably score 28 or 30.
So think about this. Braxton Jones, the Bears left tackle, yesterday became the 4th left tackle during the season through the first 3 weeks to not allow a single pressure during the game. And you go, hey, man, hats off. Fowler, Ezaraku, Clowney didn't play. Bro, he had given up 12 pressures through weeks 1 and 2. He had given up pressures on 15% of dropbacks, and he didn't give up a single pressure yesterday. You talk about how bad week to week there's going to be extreme variance between players, between groups of positions, and between teams, right? You're going to see, look what happened to Atlanta yesterday. Look what happened with the Vikings yesterday, and how much that changes with one injury here, right? Or one, like you said, special teams mistake there. Think about how different yesterday's game is if Jalen Tolbert just finishes his block, not even throws the dude out the club on the sideline, but just finishes his block, then he's not even in the picture to take the ball away from Jalen. You change one thing, change everything, right? So going into this week, even if they lose and they drop to 1 and 3, they should very reasonably then be 3 and 3 when you talk about playing the Jets and the Panthers after that, right? This is going to be a bit of a roller coaster year. And this is going to be one of those things where if they lose to the Packers this week, we might be in one of those best loss ever modes like we were against the Eagles in the first week, provided that they can go handle business the following 2 weeks. Then you're sitting there at 3 and 3 saying, does Washington really scare you, especially if Jaden Daniels is in and out of the lineup? The Broncos haven't done anything this year that makes you believe that Bo Nix is doing anything but sophomore slump. Like every team, week to week. Think about the Cardinals. Think about how much everyone loves James Conner and all the tape. Hell, our most watched video is James Conner be running the Clayton Davis offense. That dude might never play again.
Yeah. Clayton Adams coming over from Arizona has been really good for this Cowboys running game. You can feel good about that.
Clayton
You can
Davis.
feel good about their run defense. Maybe Deron Bland gets healthy along with, Diggs and Revel. Looking at this schedule, though, I'm very interested to dig into the Jets, who haven't looked horrible and are going to play good defense and are going to run the ball at you. Carolina looked good in week 3. Did they shut out Atlanta? I mean, they had a hell of a game against the Falcons. Washington seems like they should be way better than the Cowboys. Denver, I don't know, because their defense doesn't look the same, and Bo Nix is a bad quarterback. But I wouldn't be surprised that game's in Denver if Bo Nix absolutely has his best game of the season, unless significant stuff changes with Jadeveon Clowney getting involved and Deron Bland getting back. Like, they desperately need some things to start going well right now. I think Geno Smith is going to have the best game of his season against the Cowboys in Las Vegas.
Ashton Genty is getting killed. They're going to be a week-to-week team. Kansas City's beatable. We're going to see what Philadelphia looks like with the full complement of their players, provided no one spits on anyone in the pregame handshake, right? Like, yeah, I mean, you're right. It could devolve quickly.
All righty. It is how about wow here, week 3 reactions. So many things happen, but Jerry Jones says he still, quote, believes they're a playoff team. I will tell you, yes, it's because you saw number 4 out there today, and you saw what we're capable of in the run game. As we evolve toward the playoffs, we have to get better defensively. Certainly is. Do you think Jerry believes what's coming out of his mouth there here with this quote that I'm putting up on the screen?
I do, because we're about to get back potentially within the next week or two on top of each other, stacking dudes from, Bland through Overshown, and speed and not having replacement level or below replacement level guys. And then something is going to change. I don't believe that Schottenheimer is going to allow this to just continue the way it is, whether it is a vanilla bend but don't break, death by 1,000 paper cuts, or just bleep it. We're going to light you up. We're going to bring one more than you can block, and you're going to have to get rid of. They're going to do something to change the tempo, and maybe the answer is going back and forth, between those two things and picking your spots to do so. It's really interesting when you think about this week with Love being banged up, not Love himself, but the playmakers or the lack of playmakers around him. You bottle up Jacobs, and they don't have anybody who can beat you deep. Can we just get a decent game out of Diggs against Matthew Golden, and then kind of roll around? Remember how people were talking about yesterday on all over both the broadcast and social media. Like, Belichick seems to get credit for everything, right? Where you either take away the team's best player and you don't let them beat you, like they took away Marshall Faulk in the Super Bowl, or you put your best player on their number 2, and then you double number 1 and do one or the other. And from week to week, you go back and forth. The challenge right now is you got guys standing flat-footed, not communicating, not knowing what to do, not being physically able to make the plays, even if they do. Like, it's all of the problems. So you have to pick the problem that you can live with and build the design of the game plan around that.
Yeah, Matthew Golden, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks. Get ready for, an upgrade or an update to your highlight reel is what I believe we're about to be in for. And such a big part of this is Trevon Diggs just not being able to get close to who he was, and how difficult it really is to come back from microfracture. It's just totally different than an ACL repair that once the ligament is good, you're good. It is such a different deal. And it used to be quite common in basketball. Like in the early 2000s, there were a ton of microfractures, and almost always coming back that first year, the player just didn't have the strength, the balance, the change of direction, the icing on the cake of those athletic traits. Sometimes they don't come back at all, but usually they come back by year 2. So I would anticipate next year could be a good season for Trevon Diggs. But I think he's pushing himself because he understands the Cowboys are going to move on from him. He's trying to show the rest of the league he can play. He's trying to show the Cowboys he's willing to do whatever it takes to help them when they're down bad. But right now it's no better than basically undrafted free agents that are coming in here and getting roasted too. Okay. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones asked about using the picks they got in the Micah deal to improve this team. Says, of course, to use that capital, you've got to have the opportunity to use it. And no matter what I'd seen in these first 3 ball games, if I had an opportunity to really do some good with those picks, I would do it. And we've got them, and that's one of the advantages for making the trade. But more urgency now, we said not necessarily. That implies that being more urgent, I can create an opportunity to use them. What this tells me, New Bear, is that this team doesn't look at the trade market like a place that we can go out and impose our will on. We need a team willing to give up assets, and maybe it's a buyer's market. That's the only way they're going.
New Orleans, Miami, New Orleans.
Yeah. But they're not going to pick up the phone and say, okay, call 31 teams. Let me know what we'd have to get up to get their first or second best corner on every team. Let me know what linebackers are available. Let me know what pass rushers are available and what we would have to give. Like, that's what I want the Cowboys to do. Like, churn this thing, get on the horn, try to create some opportunities when nothing appears to be there. But I don't know if it's just their negotiation strategy or them being too lazy to want to jump into it that hard.
Yeah, there's also the element of nobody really wants to admit that they're giving up on the season 3 weeks into it. Nobody wants to admit in Miami that Mike McDaniel's dead man walking and that they'll let Cheetah go for a song, right? Like, no one wants to admit that because people are going to stop showing up. People are going to stop buying jerseys, etc. as you go through the business of ball. At the same time, like if you're honest about it, maybe it's not 31 teams, but maybe it's about, hey, like James Conner goes down in Arizona. They either believe in Trey Benson or they have to go find another running back. They're calling all 31 teams, because of a depth perspective, and also because Conner might not come back from that. So it's not just about this year; it's about going forward. And that's the thing you have to consider with all these injuries: is how do you eradicate this next year? Like, one guy isn't going to solve this problem if you move on from Diggs. If Revel, gets on the field and isn't right, or if it takes him into next year to come back from even a much more clean knee injury than what Diggs is dealing with, right? And because you're still talking about the problems at safety on top of that. You're still talking about the hole at linebacker on top of that. You're still talking, like, there are levels to this game both now and next. And unless you are willing to go give up ones and go get like a Patrick Surtain defensive player of the year level dude, like what we thought, Micah Parsons was for all these years, where he's covering up holes and they're so good with him because he impacts the game with what he can do. Unless you go get a guy who can do that somewhere else, you're basically just putting lipstick on a pig.
Yeah, you need to go get Trey Hendrickson, and you need to go get the best possible corner available, whoever that might be, in about a month or so, when NFL teams decide it's moving on time, either from a veteran or a guy on a rookie deal that they don't plan on bringing back. But until they make that kind of move, I'm going to have to continue to be this level of cynical about America's team, and it stinks. Because I thought these guys, Sam Williams, Donovan Ezaraku, Marshawn Nealon, Dante Fowler, could do something better than letting Caleb Williams play an entire 60-minute game without making him sweat. I mean, he sweated a little himself, but the reason I picked the Bears to win this game is because I have zero faith in this group of Cowboys corners, and I really expect that to continue against Green Bay. How about WOW, brought to you by our friends at BetOnline, up to $250 in free bets if you use the link in the description. Cowboys, the 6-point home dog. I might wait to see if this moves up to 7.5. I really think people are going to hammer Green Bay. The public is going to be down on the Cowboys this week. I expect to get some pretty good line movement. And if I'm going to bet the Cowboys, it'll be a plus 7.5.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of betting lines, I got to just keep coming back to this Javonte Williams bell, and they got to ring it. They got to ring it. This has got to be one of those, how many times can you stand to get hit type of games where, I mean, you get 5 yards on first down and you're going to goof around, you're going to dick around with something cute on 2nd and 5. Why? Like, just get back up in there and go get 7, 8 more, keep it moving. Like, that was the thing you always talked about with what you loved about young Zeke, is it was 7 yards, 8 yards, 12 yards. And even when you go back and look at the success rate of Dowdle and Pollard and some of these guys, because otherwise, like, put Jaden Blue in and have a pass catching running back and have him up the rail like Marshall Faulk and just throw it on every play. Like, it's not like the run game for you is window dressing. It's not like the run game for you is, oh, hey, we're out here and we've got a MVP level guy, all pro quarterback level guy through the first couple weeks. And we believe that he's just going to carry us. And this running game is just something that we do because you can't just line up and throw it 60 times. You're winning in the run game. And it takes the pressure off.
Especially after you lose CeeDee Lamb. You got 2-to-1 pass to run ratio in a game without CeeDee Lamb. It's wild.
Takes the pressure off of everything and everyone. All phases, all levels of this thing. And oh, by the way, if you're going to tell me that, they're going to show you Tampa 2 and you're winning in it because they're trying to take away, you always go back to the clog and cover stuff, which you can't do because you got Pickens, right? And which you can't do because Ferguson is proven to at least be a guy who is dependable if he seems to have lost some of the crash test dummy ability. But the thing about figuring out, Island of Misfit Toys kind of stuff is we didn't know that Javonte still had juice. He does. Now you got to believe in it. You got to trust, right? Week to week, you're going to get the big plays. You're also going to get some mistakes from Pickens. Now you're going to have Lamb out there, at less than 100%. And, how does that change anything? So all these holes on defense, they've actually filled in the blank with some of these guys the other way. They got to play to their strengths.
You're right, New Bear. We'll be back soon with film analysis from the All-22 and then an update on the headlines and practice reports and then a Packers preview coming up on Saturday. Till then, please like and sub on the way out if you haven't already for New Bear.